is somebody who has really managed to get a special place in my heart, because without him, I really wouldn't be where I am today, and without him, I really wouldn't be managing to be in the magazine industry, and I wouldn't have the confidence to be standing up at this podium. Nonetheless, I wouldn't have the confidence to be working in the industry and working my way towards making the friends that I'm making at this conference today. So without further ado, please say hello to Dr. Samir Husni.
That's sort of like an A+. I've not turned in the grade yet, so. But thanks, Brittany. I mean, it's one of the things I'm thinking of adding to my signature on my email is like serving Ole Miss magazine students since 1984. But then people then will say like, you're 45. When did you start teaching? So it's great being here. It's great. We had a marvelous last night. The reports I've heard from everyone, I mean, Linda, James, Tom, I mean, the presentations were like, wow. And it felt really good when the provost, who's a pharmacist, as our associate dean introduced him as, our chief academic officer at the university, stayed for the entire time and was amazed with the depth of research that takes place in the magazine media industry. I mean, it's not like, I almost told him like, so you think about us journalists is we just write, make up things, and I mean, we do actually do research. Same way, I didn't tell him I think about pharmacists, they just count pills and put them in a bottle. But it was really good, and I'm really thankful for our first three presenters. We have a lineup of presentations today that, if nothing else, will keep you awake. I mean, our industry is alive, kicking, and well. And by our, I mean both for the future industry leaders and the current industry leaders. I mean, I stand before you here not to bury magazines, but to praise them and praise the new revival that's taking place in our industry on all fronts. I always like to joke by saying, like, if we have no future, why would like a company like Meredith buy a company like Time Inc.? And we're proud to have those companies who have been supporting and sponsoring the ACT experience. Most of them are like charter sponsors from the very beginning. I'm grateful to folks like James Elliott, Jim, thank you for your sponsorship. The folks from Meredith, thank you for your sponsorship. The folks from Hearst, thank you for your sponsorship. Democrat Printing, the LSC, formerly known as R.R. Donnelly. I mean, if I'm going to mention every company and say formerly known as, then we will like take a long time. But all these, I mean, SAPI, TNG, Media Radar, who provided us with the statistics that you find them in your program. Those of you who don't have a program, we do have programs. Those of you who don't have a Wi-Fi password and stuff like that, if someone can bring them from the outside and we can hand them to you, I'll go outside and bring them so you can have the access code for the wireless and the excellent. And we also have a lot of goodies in the bags. Please, I mean, if you are a speaker or a registered attendee, please make sure that you have a bag with the goodies. We have plenty of magazines outside for you and books. Please take as many as you want. We are not shipping anything back to any of the publishers. We operate here on a no return policy, so our sale through is 100%. And last but not least, just some logistics. The restrooms are right outside the doors. For the speakers, if you see a group of students like stand up and leave, they are not protesting your presentation. It means that they have another class. And that's why I did the program this year as much as I can to coordinate with the class times. So we start either after a class start, but we always stop at the class time. So by 9 o'clock, if you see somebody leaving at 5 to 9, it means they have another class. They are not protesting you. If you see any of the attendees who are registered or magazine folks leaving, then I don't know what to tell you. Then when you start really getting mad. Again, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to Ole Miss, to the Meek School of Journalism and New Media, and to the Magazine Innovation Center. Great things are happening, and more things are coming your way. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce one of my students who's going to introduce our keynote opening speaker. Hannah?
Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Willis. I'm an integrated marketing communications senior here at Meek School of Journalism, and I have the honor of introducing Liz Vaccariello. She's the editor-in-chief of Parents Magazine and content director at Parents Network at Meredith Corporation. So please join me in welcoming Liz to the stage.
Thank you, Hannah. That was a tall order. First the Vaccariello with the silent I, and then Meredith and Parents, and also run other magazines. So I'm here today. I'm going to pull up the presentation, which I don't. Yeah, that'd be nice. Lots of pictures. I am in charge of the Parents Network at Meredith, which includes Parents Magazine, but also Family Fun Magazine, Parents Latinas, Ser Padres. Today I'm going to talk about, the title of my talk is 11 New Rules for Making Magazines in 2018. And the stories that I'm going to tell, the slides that you're going to see, are all reflective of Parents Magazine, because it's the biggest publication in the group. So let me just start by saying that. It doesn't mean I don't love my other babies. And please, we sent a bunch of boxes down here of Parents Magazines. So if you are a parent, if you have a parent, if you know a parent, take one, because I guarantee they will enjoy it. Okay. First one. So I am going to start, before I get to my new rules, by showing you 4 covers of the recent Parents Magazine, because I think they represent the emotional connection that this magazine, that a magazine, can have with its reader. The cover, I always say, is the most important part of the magazine for the editorial, for the marketing, for the sales department. Oftentimes, the people who are buying ads in your magazine, they're 23-year-old media buyers, and they're not poring over every story and caption that you've worked so hard on. They might just look at the magazine and then flip through and look for the Capri Sun ad. So this is your selling sheet for the ad sales department. It's also the selling sheet for your reader. When your reader gets the magazine, gets the renewal bill in the mail, you want to have sold them every month via this cover on this magazine is for you. I want to open it up and see what's inside. This has to get the reader to act on the magazine and not create a pile of 12 magazines that they didn't have time to read. So this magazine has to do those 2 things. And then third, say to the reader, I am a magazine for and about you. So the first example is indicative of one of the changes I've made since coming to Parents Magazine, and that is to get away from just pictures of model babies on the cover. For many years, we've been published since 1926. It was a picture of a baby or a toddler, and it was super, super cute. But this magazine now has to say to the mom, I'm about you. So we've put mothers on the cover, and we've also put mothers with their actual children. So no models and model children. I took a look at a piece of film that when I first got to the magazine, and it was a model and a 3-year-old boy. She had the best look on her face, and it was a perfect picture. But I took one look at it, and I said, that model, that mother, is not touching that child. He's on her lap, he's having fun, he's giggling, but the model was like this. That is not a real mother. A mother would have her hands all over that child. So you have to show the real influencer or celebrity, and you have to capture that emotional connection between mother and child, mother and baby. So this is Masi Arias. She's a Revlon spokesperson. She's a fitness influencer. And I think she represents one of the biggest points that we want to say is like, Mom, you can do this. The old Parents Magazine used to be finger wagging, American Academy of Pediatrics says this, your child is in danger because of that, don't feed her X, but always feed her Y, make sure during the, and it can be very, very scary. In the world of digital today, if my child has a rash, I can go on my phone and figure out what that rash is, right? The answers to my questions are often a click away. But what I need a magazine for is to not only have that emotional connection, but to say, I want that magazine to understand who I am, to understand that I want to be confident, that I want to be fierce. And so that's the direction behind the cover images. Here's another cover, and I will also point out that we have 13.5 million monthly uniques on parents.com, which also includes the Ser Padres Parents Latina world. But this shows you that this is a magazine as much about her as it is about the child. Brenna was an Olympian. She was on the snowboarding team that just was in Seoul, Korea. And we went to the top of a mountain in Snowbird, and we shot her again with her real child, right? So there's an inspiring real story about this woman as a mother, this woman as a woman, and how it all comes together. The third example is our May issue, which is Jenny Mollen, who is the wife of Jason Biggs. Raise your hand if you know who Jason Biggs is. He was an American Pie, right? So she is just as funny as Jason and is one of these mothers who is on social media constantly. If you're on her Instagram story, she has a lump in her neck and she's like, oh my God, it's the thyroid. She just had her second baby and she's showing you her action. She's pumping, and this is what real life is like in her house at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's very, very real, and it's indicative of the whole point of view of the magazine now, is that this is not a world of you having to be perfect. This is a no judgment zone. The mothers today, the millennial moms that we speak to, do things their way. They laugh at their mistakes, and they want to be able to share the imperfection of motherhood and embrace it just as much as being confident and being fierce. And then the final cover was our November Toys and Books issue, and it was Savannah Guthrie of the Today Show. And I pair it with the media impressions because one of the things there are many things about the strength of print, but one of them is that people still love to be on the cover of a magazine. That still matters. And so we worked very closely with the Today Show. Savannah had a book coming out, so there's a real reason to put Savannah on our cover. But I said, Parents Magazine has to own toys and books for children at holiday time. Why are we not taking over the Today Show, right? That second week of October when people start to make their lists. So you work together. In this day and age, it's not just about calling up the Today Show and saying, do you want us to do our best toy issue? We called the Today Show and said, Parents Magazine, this speaks to what Linda talked about yesterday. When we do our best new toys of the year, we are at the toy fair for an entire weekend in February. We are testing 500 toys in the homes of parents and families over the course of the spring. Then in June, we bring different categories, different ages and stages of kids into our offices. We bring what we think are the top toys into our conference room and our video center, and we watch the children play with them so we know specifically, is it the child who loved the new Batman toy, or was it the dad who was like, I love this new Batman toy? So that's the kind of work that goes into our best toy issue. And same with books, the new books of the year. There's every book blogger can write about the 10 books, the 10 new books of the year. But we have a panel of librarians and school teachers that their job is to look at those books and to read the new books of the year. Then they nominate the list to us, and we give them to children to read them. Which ones did they love? From board books for babies to the middle readers. So this is the kind of work that goes behind the toy and book issue of Parents Magazine, and that's why the Today Show says, yes, I want to pair up with Parents Magazine to name the best books and toys every holiday season. So now I'm going to take you to my new rules, and these are just my new rules, because it's a world of imperfection, so there are really no rules, right? Making magazines. And the first one is to understand your audience, and it seems so simple and so obvious, but it is in so many ways not. We understand our advertisers, we understand our subscribers, but who is this millennial mom? How is she different from the mom who read Parents Magazine 10 years ago, 15 years ago? She's very different, and how do we know her? We have at our disposal at Meredith reams of research, so we can tell you how long she wants to spend cooking dinner. But as editors, you have to bring that knowledge, instinctive and informed, of who this mom is, who your potential reader might be, to every page and picture in the magazine. So I say to my team, I want you on Instagram. I want you on Facebook. I want you in those community, those chat rooms. I want you to hear and read the language that these moms are using. So we are using hashtag mom goals when it's hip to use the phrase hashtag mom goals, and that we'll stop using it when the moms stop using it, so we don't look like a bunch of fuddy-duddies. So we're out in social media. We're seeing aspirationally our art department, how they shop, how they want to look, because we're an aspirational magazine. Moms are wearing the mom bun and they're in sweats, but they also want to wear fun makeup. They want to be on trend, and they want to have date nights. So who are the bloggers that they're following? So we're following them as well. But then, in real life, we bring those readers into our offices. We have a big Best of Beauty Awards coming up in October, and a lot of magazines do the Best of Beauty Awards. How does Parents Magazine do it differently? I said, I want to watch the moms play with makeup. So not only do we send a big box, and yes, you can be involved next year if you're a mom, a big bag of all the new skin and hair products to them, and they test them for 3 months, and they fill out a form and tell us what they think. But then we bring them into our offices for a 3-hour cocktail party with little makeup mirrors, and we have editors paired with each of these moms, and we watch them try on that new lip liner and the brow brushes. And we get to not only see how they're interacting with makeup, how they're talking about it, but we also find out who our winners are. So that insight informs the story. It also makes a case to our advertisers who are going to be a part of it. This is why you want to be in the Mom's Best Beauty Award, because we are speaking to this millennial mom. In style, she might not be a mom, but if you want moms, if you want somebody under 35, she's here. But it also gives our editors a chance to interact with this mom and get to know her. So understand your audience. The second new rule shouldn't be new and isn't new, but I wanted to talk about diversity and how it matters. This was our October cover, and a couple things were happening here. First of all, not only did I want real moms with their children on the covers, but I had also been hearing from mothers, how come every time you put a picture of somebody changing a diaper in the magazine, it's always the mom? And the easy answer is our reader is a woman. It's we're called Parents Magazine, and yes, we have fathers who read the magazine, but our advertisers are speaking to women and all that. But the moms were saying, we get all that, but you need to represent the whole family. You need to take a leadership role in showing fathers as involved in parenting as mothers. So occasionally, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, we'll ask the dad to come in. You'll notice Jenny Mollen, Jason Biggs showed up to this shoot thinking he was going to be on the cover with his wife, Jenny Mollen, and he wasn't. But occasionally we'll have the dad come on the cover. This woman is a model, and she wrote a blog post about being on the cover of the magazine, and it brought tears to my eyes because Crystal never thought she'd be on the cover of any magazine because she always was told that she didn't have like a fashion model look, whatever that means, and that she would always be sort of a catalog model and not a real model. So the fact that she was on her first magazine cover thrilled her. The fact that she was on with her family thrilled her even more. And when it came out, she said everybody she'd ever met was taking pictures of themselves holding this magazine with posts and notes to her saying, I am seeing a family like mine on the cover of a magazine, and that has such meaning for me. and she wrote hashtag representation matters. And it very, very much does. Diversity in whether it's gender, geography, or racial diversity matters, and it's not only a nice to have, it's an absolute must have now. So you'll see it on the cover of Parents, and you'll see it inside on many of the pages. The third new rule is don't be too cool for school. So some of you I recognize from 2 years ago when I spoke here. I was the editor-in-chief of Reader's Digest at the time. And my positioning of Reader's Digest was, we're a place for storytelling, which is why I think I got that label of being a good storyteller. But let's also, you can get stories anywhere. What did Reader's Digest mean? And I said, let's be an oasis from snark and partisanship and politics, that 24-hour cacophony that's on people's social media feeds and on the cable news channels. So that's what Reader's Digest can be a nice place to be. It's also something that I've brought to Parents Magazine too. So there is such a joy in being a mom. It is also exhausting, and I do not remember the first 3 years of my children's lives. I have twins, and I really do not remember them. A little PTSD, actually, about those years. But there's a joy, and the magazine needs to show that joy. And let's not be too cool to have a shot where her arm is flung up in the air because she's at the top of a freaking mountain in Snowbird, Utah, for this photo shoot of a magazine. She's going to be on the cover with her baby. That joy cannot be replicated. And so you'll see it on the cover, but you'll also see it inside. You'll see in the voice, in the stories that we write, in the headlines. Let's seize on that exuberance. People are coming to us because they need answers and they need help, but also because they love being a mommy and they want to own it. They want to be fierce and confident, and they want to have fun. So don't be too cool to love what you are. That can mean having fun with puns. Now, granted, I'm a magazine that's about children, so I have a little more leeway to be corny sometimes. But sometimes you can have a play on words because it's kind of fun. We're winking at the audience, and we're saying, we're not too cool for school. Charming children and having them pose in ways that are silly. That's all part of the charm of what our audience wants. New rule number 4 is go for wow instead of ugh. So probably none of you even know what this is. This is a woman who, these are breast pumps. So she's had her baby and she has to pump at work because the breast milk keeps coming. The students are like, what are you talking about? So Parents Magazine and a lot of women's magazines, and I've worked at health magazines in the past as well, cover stuff that is kind of gross and not fun. There's a lot of, in Parents Magazine, there's poop, there's breastfeeding, there's breast pumps. Let's have fun with it. You don't want to ever have your reader turn a page and go, ugh, or turn a page, and like I said, I have a little bit of PTSD from those first 3 years that were so exhausting of raising a child. You don't want to show that in the magazine. You can talk about it, but go for wow. The photographs and the headlines can really help. This is an example of another important story that Parents Magazine did. It's about postpartum. We've all heard of postpartum depression. There's postpartum anxiety now. And this is that panic that sets in. I'm going to drop the baby. Oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing, this inability to sleep. So we don't want to show a mother in the throes of that anxiety. So working very, very closely with the art department and integrating that art and headline process into one meeting or several meetings can solve a lot of the toughest problems. So can illustration. There's also the ability to use illustration with photography, because sometimes if you do too much illustration, it's a little bit removed from your reader. So you do want to show real children. You do want to show real moms. This was a story on the gut biome of children. And deep in this story, it talks about how there is a way to solve some of the digestive issues that children have by giving them feces, actually, as medicine to improve the gut biome. Well, how on earth do you talk about that? How do you open a story and invite people in a way that's not off-putting? You go for charm. You go for wow instead of ugh. New rule number 5 is know that digital natives skim print differently. So you'll see with, in my magazine at least, headlines that are more reflective of the headlines you might see in digital. Sometimes you just have to say what the story is, because this millennial mom is really flipping very quickly, and she's not going to, unless that pun, dough much fun, that was very clear that that was a story about playing with dough, right? But if you have a 4 or 6 page story on discipline, you need to say precisely what that is to stop her, to get her to open, to engage with the headline and the deck and the story. So you'll see a little more straightforward headlines and display copy than you might have seen in the past from some of the women's service magazines in particular. The Secret Life of School, this was part of our back to school issue. Mom season is September through New Year's. She starts with back to school, then it's into Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, like she is on, right? Football season, no, it's mom season. So we asked everyone who works at a school, what are the secrets that the bus driver, the lunch lady, the teachers know about your children or want you to know? So you need to tell people what you're getting in a charming and exciting way. Let your audience tell stories too. Digital and social have been so helpful in opening up the communication process, but they can also be helpful in terms of creating your own content. You want to make that bridge between her and the magazine. We're not on separate sides of the room anymore. She wants to see herself in the magazine. And so a couple times a year, we'll have story contests. Sometimes it's a prize money, sometimes it's a donation to the school. People are writers now, people are photographers. Everybody has a Facebook page, so they're used to telling their own stories. This was a contest that we did, That Time You Won Parenting. I wanted to get readers to understand that moment where they did something right. You know, they, instead of yelling or screaming or walking away from the disaster that was in front of them, they did something that worked and that felt good, and that the child and mother walked away feeling better. And so this was one of the most popular stories in our May issue last year, and it was all moms telling stories about that moment, that specific moment that they felt good and confident. New rule number 7, welcome advertisers as partners and collaborators. You heard a lot of this last night. You know, the walls between church and state don't exist anymore. There are fences. There are, there are other things that sort of divide that separate the advertising and commercial part of the magazine with the editorial part of the magazine. But the sales side and the editorial side must and do at the Meredith Corporation work together in ways that they never have before. If an advertiser has an initiative or a problem that they want to help a consumer solve, they will have that extra money to fund often the gimmick or the cover unit or the special survey that my budget might not let me do. There are a number of ways that we're working with our advertisers. One is integrating on the editorial page 2 units. One is called a buzzworthy and the other is called the Partner Plus tip. So there might be, say there's a story on slow cooking, a slow cooker story, and Reynolds wants to show you its slow cooker bag. So they'll have an ad for their slow cooker bag. We will have our recipe for the slow cooker, and then there will be a Partner Plus tip that looks exactly like that from Reynolds about how to use it. So the reader is not being fooled. As long as you're being transparent, it doesn't have to say advertisement. This is our partner, Reynolds, who very clearly is right next to the page. We say this tip is brought to you by Reynolds, but it's on that editorial page, which is so valuable for the advertiser. Buzzworthy is a marketing unit that can run third of a page at the bottom of an editorial page. That's labeled advertisement, and that is a separate sort of expression of their marketing message. But it breaks that full page of editorial up a little bit. We also have a number of seals that we work with, that we offer to partners. Best Family Cars we do with Edmunds. It's a very, Edmunds.com actually, it's a very pure effort that we spend a year on. We test, we even put the car seats, put them in and take them out of each individual car. How easy is it to get a car seat in? Very parents focused. But then if Toyota wants to be excited about the fact that their minivan was named the best minivan, they can then use that seal in not only their marketing efforts outside the magazine, but in that very issue of the magazine. We chose Toyota, we chose the top 10 cars, irrespective of who would be advertising in the magazine, but they can use that editorial announcement in their advertising in the magazine. Here's a couple of bigger examples of what we've done. One is probably an 8-month project we did with Dreft, which is a laundry detergent, and we wanted to do a Messiest Baby in America contest. So with Dreft, we asked people to send in their pictures of their messy babies, and the top 10 babies that we selected with Dreft, we brought them to New York. Our editorial team, yes, shot all 9 of these babies, and because we wanted it to look like a Parents Magazine cover. We wanted the art to look reflective of what our children normally look like. So our creative department was involved for 8 full months with the Dreft team to ideate and to lay out what this second cover unit of Parents Magazine would look like. Another example is a partnership that we did with Go RVing. Go RVing wanted to show, this is not out yet, this is our June cover. They wanted to show a family, a blogger family, interacting with the RV. So we sent them on our 3-day RV trip. We had them take pictures of themselves in the RV. That's the open cover unit that, if you can tell, is die cut in the shape of an RV. And then we shot the cover, our editorial team shot the cover separately. We did this prior year with Go RVing, and we actually had an RV pulled onto the grounds of Joshua Tree National Park. I said this year I didn't want to put another RV on the actual cover, but this year we'll put it on the inside of the die cut. So it's a successful example of creative collaboration between us and the advertising partner, and everybody wins. The Go RVing got their experiential family with the RV, and we got a cover that looked like a Parents Magazine cover. New rule number 8 is that art is your story's best friend. Again, when we talk about some of the more difficult pieces, the photography can often solve your problems. A story on mother's constipation, right? How are we going to solve that? A cute picture of a mom, right? This is a piece that is, you've seen this in the New York Times actually, but we were the first to cover it. It's about the danger that Black women face giving birth, with all other factors being the same. Maternal death rates are highest among Black women, and for years, scientists didn't know why. And they've now uncovered that it's not for lack of care, maternal care, with all things being the same, there's still that danger. And they say that it's the stress of just the Black experience. That maternal stress impacts a mother when she is pregnant. And so Black mothers face a different level of fear. So how do you, the original headline for this story was going to be Black Births Matter. And I said, that's going to, I don't want people to think that this is a story about racism in the maternity ward. How can we bring all of our mothers into this piece? So let's show the end result. Let's show the benefit. Let's show the mother loving her baby. And let's tease to the idea that what, love is not enough? Like that I could do everything right during my pregnancy and post-pregnancy and still my life and my child's life are at risk. Love is not enough. So art, this is the result of several meetings with art and photo and editorial. Display copy is crucial for voice. This goes back to one of my first notes, which was you have to understand how she talks. You have to understand what she's saying, what she's thinking. And if your headline is going to be a little more straightforward, you get that voice with the small copy. You can get it in the bubbles. You can get it in the actual art. What we've learned over the years is that readers will lean into the smallest copy on the page because it's so small, and that's when you can say to them, it doesn't necessarily have to be an extra bit of service information. It can be, this Band-Aid is not fun. Like, I wanted the Disney Band-Aid. You know, you can reflect this language that they're hearing back to them. New rule number 10 is more is not necessarily better. I'm showing you an example of a story that I don't think was successful. It was our back to school lunches, and we tried to do way too much on the page. Sometimes it's best to just simplify and focus. We were trying to show packed lunches that used packaged foods. We were trying to show the packaged foods. We were trying to show the lunch boxes. We were trying to show the individual packaged foods. This was early in my time there. What she wants from a magazine is an inviting experience. She wants it to feel easy. And so sometimes a story that's 5 crafts to do in November, instead of being 1 page and 5 crafts, you can save a lot of money and make your reader feel a lot more relaxed about the idea of a crafternoon by spreading it out and having 1 craft, 1 idea per page. So simple is often better. And to that point, I will also say that oftentimes when we're editing a magazine and we're doing things like, you know, every Thanksgiving we have to do a turkey story, every Christmas we have to do an ornament story. Well, this mom, we know, Meredith knows a lot about mom and food, and this mom wants to put dinner on the table, right? That's one of her biggest problems and challenges. Not only what is she going to feed her child, who might be a picky eater, but when her partner comes home, he or she wants to feel like it's a dinner she wants to eat. So we had gotten away from the most popular story in the food section in the history of the magazine, which was just Supper Was Solved, 5 easy dinners. And we'd stopped doing it because the editors had gotten sick of just doing 5 easy dinners. But sometimes you have to think about what your reader really wants. And even though you're sick of it, you need to get over it and give them what they need. So now our dinner coverage, we have food throughout the magazine, but our dinner coverage is simply 5 simple meals. And these are singles because our food advertisers want the adjacencies. Use humor to break through. If you do humor right, and again, you can't be tone deaf, you have to use the right language, but it does more than anything else to say to this mom, this magazine gets me. They're speaking my language, they're making me laugh. This is Jason Biggs. He brought his own pajamas to the shoot, so we took a picture of him. This was on the inside of the magazine, not the cover. And they were hilarious. They were doing an Insta story about how Jason thought he was going to be, we're at the cover shoot, and Jason thought he was going to be on the cover, and he's not, and how do I tell him? And it's all, you know, that fourth wall came tumbling down. But have fun with the photography, makes your brand memorable. Have fun with photo illustration. This is a story on your child being sick. It could have easily been a child with a fever, with a thermometer, but you can have fun with the idea of measles or mumps. So be playful. And then I love this story on mom boobs. There is something very specific about the breasts of a mother right before she gets pregnant, during the pregnancy, after the pregnancy. How can you do this? You know, do we do some big photo shoot of real mom boobs? That's ugh, not wow, right? So let's have fun with it. Let's have our tongue firmly in cheek and do a Dan Salinger shoot with balloons. So I wanted to, hopefully, what I tried to do today was talk a little to the executives in the room and a little bit to the students in the room, talk about how I'm interacting, the new rules for interacting with advertisers and your staff, but also those of you who are making magazines right now, how are you building pages? What are some of the things that you should be thinking about as you're ideating your magazines? So I'd love to answer any questions that anybody has about anything I've said or anything that might be of interest.
Hey Liz,
Yeah.
great point that it's often missed about subscription magazine. And the way I learned to approach it is that the kitchen table is the newsstand.
Yeah.
And you have to get them, just like you were suggesting, to pick it up and actually read it.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Do you target someday moms, or is it just women that are currently pregnant or currently moms?
That's a good question. We, because you're working on a bridal magazine, that's your prototype, right? So starting when you're 13, you start thinking about when you're a bride, right? Parents goes to moms. Our sweet spot is moms with 6-month-olds to about 8-year-olds. We go up to about 13. We have a brand called Fit Pregnancy and Baby, which was put in gynecologists and OBGYN offices, and that was for that pregnant moment, right? And then we used that magazine to bring the consumer into the funnel of parents. But by the time she gets parents, she's had the baby. But one of the things that we did with Fit Pregnancy and Baby is we created a section within Parents called Parents Baby. We're able to target among our readers those who are pregnant with their second child. And so 850,000 of our 2.2 million rate base go to households where there is a pregnant or newborn in the house. And so you get that Huggies, the Pampers. They want to get that mom. Often when she's registering, she knows she's pregnant, so she's registering for her shower, or she's making that choice of, what's the diaper going to be. So that serves her, and that serves that advertiser specifically. Yes? Well, it's a consideration. Every magazine, every brand, every media brand is its own business, if you will. So I know that the Meredith executives are always looking at frequency. But you'll find Parents is 12 times a year. And if you do the math, if you go to 10 times a year, you're losing the dozens. Hopefully, you have dozens of advertisers who are advertising in all 12 issues. So you lose, 1/6 of them. So the math often doesn't work out. So I would say it's brand by brand. I will say that newsstand, there's been a big shift in newsstand. Parents is not on every newsstand. It's just at Barnes & Noble. And we do that because we are able to be book of record for the pharma advertisers. So if a drug advertises in your magazine, by law, that magazine needs to, if it's the book of record, that magazine needs to be available to the public for sale somewhere. So we check that box by being in Barnes & Noble. But you'll see, like on my Instagram, whenever if a story's not online yet and I'm showing something from the magazine, I take them to the magazine store and I say, don't go looking for this. We're in Barnes & Noble. We're not in your CVS. We're in Barnes & Noble, or subscribe through magazine store. Yes?
I'm curious why you stop at 8, 13 first, goes all the way through
Yeah. Right. It's a great question. And it's interesting because we have Gardasil, which is the vaccine for teenagers, is an advertiser in Parents. And we do have, I'd say, many of our readers have more than one child at home, so it can range in age from 13 to newborn. And we do have many readers who still have teenagers in the home. We have many readers who just love the magazine so much that they've kept, and for a while this was a little problem with our demographics, they kept getting it until their own children had children, because they didn't want to stop getting it. And so that skewed our age a little bit, but now we're back to normal. The real issue has to do with the big consumer need. When her child is 0 to 5, that's when she's feeling overwhelmed. That's when she has a zillion questions. That's when she needs a community. By the time often she has that second child, by the time they're preteens, she doesn't need that. She feels like she's got it a little more, so they kind of fall off. And then, of course, the advertisers, they want to get that mom. They want to get them buying the Capri Sun early in the lifetime of the child. So it's appealing to them as well. Yes? Well, I think Meredith has a whole pod of executives in Des Moines who are constantly looking at those opportunities and pricing. I forget who the presenters were, but a team from, I think it was Quad, came to our offices about 6 months ago and showed some of the new units, showed some of the new glosses. And I went to that because I'm often in a Go RVing meeting or a DREFT meeting, and they want to come up with a big idea. Advertisers want a big idea. So you have to be on top of what this physical product is capable of doing. And so I try to stay on top of it. So annually, we have people come to the Meredith offices and present to the editors. But if you need the name of our sourcing people, I can get that for you as well.
Thank you, Liz. We really appreciate it.